Hello! In this video we're going to build a map. We are going to build a map for troubleshooting SLAs, and I need to go blur something out of my screen there from a text message. We're going to be building a map for SLAs, and basically in a lot of instances I end up troubleshooting, hey, why did this breach? This is a common thing that if you're supporting a system you might get asked, like, hey, we have a ticket, breached for some reason, or the SLA didn't calculate correctly, and you want to be able to troubleshoot why. And typically this ends up resulting in, hey, I need to go see, did the SLA load? Which SLA was it? Did the target time load? What are the target time values? Yada, yada, yada. So we are going to build a map that provides a screen that does that. And I need to turn off push notifications. Oh well. So I'm going to go ahead and sign into my Sharewell environment. I think I double clicked this button, so we'll see. I might end up logging into it twice, but that's okay. Yeah, so this part's probably going to have been edited out, but my database server had run out of memory, and so I was having a little bit of trouble getting signed in at first, but that's okay. So we are going to go ahead and create a new, I don't know, blueprint, map, whichever. We're going to start with a blueprint. It's important. And basically, if you create something in a map, then you have to publish the map to actually test it. So we're going to start with a blueprint. And now for me, when I go and create blueprints, I actually have a table that I use to track the name of the blueprint. And you can actually gain a little bit of a benefit from this. And so if you basically, you can set this up to where it creates your naming standard for you. So if you, like me, are just putting in the date and the time, you can have this field for blueprint name on this table just automatically populate, hey, here's this date, here's this time, here's an underscore between them, format it, blah, 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 and then put this little hyphen at the end to where I can just type in a short description and then I can go and I don't have to do this when I'm saving it to a disk. So I'm going to say this is our SLA troubleshooting map. And then I'm going to copy this and save it. And then essentially at that point you can track what the status is of your blueprints. I think I have a map for that. I don't know if it's public or not. And so we are going to have blueprints somewhere. There we go. So we've saved our blueprint and now we can work on this. And basically what I'm going to do in this map, which you'll see when you get it, is we are going to create a form. So we'll say new form, say DES SLA troubleshooting. And if you don't know, DES stands for Def Edit Software. And so form color, we'll just make this a nice white and apply and save this. And we're going to put some sections onto the screen here. And so, hang on, I need to adjust the scroll bar because I have a pause button in the way. All right, so we're going to put a rectangle up here for SLA stuff. Sorry, you'll have to bear with me. I am working without a mouse right now. Actually, no, I'm not. I can get a mouse. One moment. There we go. It's always good to carry a handy-dandy Bluetooth mouse and a mouse pad, even when you're traveling. I don't like the little dongles. I mean, I love all the Logitech stuff, but I really wish they'd make it to where it was all like Bluetooth, or if they had the thing built into the motherboard. Anyways, we're gonna put a label up here, so we'll say SLA record details. And here, I think all we really need for this is to just know which SLA we're working with. And so I'm going to put a label here, maybe move it over a bit, SLA name, and this can be an expression that calculates the name of the SLA from the appropriate relationship. And I have something important to say about SLA target times here in a minute. Hopefully I don't forget. But basically, we're going to calculate from the relationship to SLA using incident links SLA. Now this relationship is the final SLA relationship, just so you know. There are many SLA relationships. You can link an SLA using a customer subscription level, using a service SLA, using a customer-specific SLA or a CI SLA, and there's a calculation that will track, and it gives them different priorities in a hierarchy to determine if there's multiple, which one does it select. And I think customer SLA is the one at the very top. Like if the customer has one, it wins out. But basically, the SLA, incident links SLA, that is the relationship to the one that won and the SLA that is actually selected. So if you're curious about why there's so many of those, hopefully that helps. And so here we're just going to grab the name of the selected SLA. And so it doesn't look like it's in the base set of fields here. It'll be probably under common or maybe system. I'm missing a name field. Is title. Title. Okay, same thing. So we'll say selected SLA name. That way we know if we have to troubleshoot this SLA or anything about it, that's the record we're opening. And what we can also do is we can give you, as an administrator, a very useful button to just navigate directly to the SLA. This is something I will probably end up using quite a bit. Open SLA record. And so if you can jump to that SLA, then you can start looking at the target time records for it and actually just expedite your, or expedite, I suppose, your troubleshooting. Sorry, I had to pause the video. I had to sneeze. All right, so we don't have a folder for def edit in our incident folder yet. So we will create one, def edit software. And you probably won't have to update this video or this one step either, because it's going to be a pretty simple go-to record action. And in this video, you get a very quick little how to build a one step to go to a record. So we're going to go to the current record in a relationship, which will be incident links SLA. Not target time, just SLA. And that should be that. Select that there. You don't need to see progress, and you can decide not to disable that record if the ticket's closed, because it doesn't matter if it's closed or not, as long as an SLA is selected. So that'll be that. We can also duplicate, well, yeah, some of this for target time records. So SLA record details becomes SLA target time details. And here we're going to put in selected SLA target time. And here we're going to put in, oh, I don't know, what do we see for target times? We're on our Blue Hat connection. I'm going to open the client. We'll log in and we'll look at what information is available on a target time record. I'm pretty sure it's like priority, incident type, and then you have configurations like the amount of hours or days that you're going to wait for resolution and response, and then whether it's going to be applied to a work hours definition. And I have an important note on the work hours definition because there's some confusing stuff to it, and I need to remember to blank out and blur my screen for this part because it has some customer information on it. Not enough environments. Okay, so we are going to be searching for SLA records here. And hopefully this section stays blurred. We're going to open up any SLA record. Okay, now I can unblur. So we'll look at the corporate SLA. Now the corporate SLA is usually your default. I think on the most recent content versions they actually call it corporate default instead of corporate. I don't remember. But if you look here, you have a set of SLA target time records, right? These determine how long it takes for your response and your resolution SLA targets to breach. And you can configure those here. And there's actually a really handy step-by-step troubleshooter for building these out if you're new to them. But the ones out of the box have this summary screen on them or this review screen on them, and you might just work explicitly with this screen. Well, a lot of people, if they want to configure work hours for this, they do it like so. But what I've seen also for people who are implementing new target time records, for example, service request priority 4 and 5, they select a work hours definition up here, and this one actually does something very different. If you select a work hours definition up here, and you don't have this checkbox for use as default marked, which you should probably use either way, you can actually break your SLA target time troubleshooting or SLA target time loading in a very weird way. Basically, this work hours field right here determines when this SLA target time applies. You can have different SLA target times for different business hours, and this work hours field is solely when the response time calculates, so you can ignore anything outside of business hours. So these two do very different things. This one selects this record, and then this one does math on the record, if that makes sense. There is an explanation of this on one of these pages, which is how I found out, because, it causes problems. So it can take a very long amount of troubleshooting to ideally find this answer if you find it. But basically, the question is there a specific time period when this SLA target time should be used? That is, can I get the field info? That is the work hours field. On review, this is the work hours field. So just so you know, if you're configuring target time records and the work hours that they should be applied in, you should probably leave this work hours field blank. If you don't, this relationship might not load. There's two different relationships to target times. So as long as this checkbox is marked, it won't really break anything because it loads it through the default target time relationship. But I wanted to go over that because it's not really well known and it will prevent you from possibly making a mistake later on. Anyways, back to the map. So the map, we're basically going to display, let's see, we select a target time out of the box based on parent type and priority level. So that should be on there. And then we'll break out what the configurations here do as well. And so selected SLA target time, we're going to say parent type, and then we'll pull in the parent type. See, there's a lot of target time stuff here based on which SLA is being used, and they can be customized a bit. You basically just need SLA target time. This is one that won't load though if you break it. If you break it and your configuration is incorrect, this relationship is empty. So instead of using Incident Link's SLA target time, I would recommend looking at Incident Link's default SLA target time, because you should always be marking at least one of your target times as default. Now this is actually something that is somewhat well known. Any of the consultants that have run into issues with target times, they have eventually discovered that if they check this box, issues magically go away. So there's probably some conventional wisdom out there on the forums, maybe through some training, other places, that you should probably use that default checkbox, and then you should look at the Incident Link's default SLA target time relationship just to save yourself a little bit of headache. And so we're going to do just that, just in case it breaks. So parent type here is parent type. Priority level is going to be the same thing on that relationship. Also, this answers the question of which SLA target time relationship is used there if you end up needing to expand on this. And so priority level is priority level. Let's do that. And then we have a button here. Open SLA record isn't going to be necessary for a target time. And then we can probably expand this out to like, maybe I'll put another rectangle in here to show the configurations. So this can be a different color, be a nice turquoise, and we'll say what it's set to. So response configuration, we'll say, is going to be, we'll say the number and then the units and then the work hours, hyphenated after that, for example. So we'll see what that looks like. So default SLA target time. Please let me know in the comments if I picked the wrong relationship at some point. This is going to be for response. So you've got a response time, which is a numeric value. We need to expand this out for more working space. If you can't resize this window, upgrade. I used to work on a system on version 8.3.1 where I couldn't resize this, and I think 9.1 is this version this system's on, and just this one thing is awesome. Anyways, so you've got a numeric number of units. We then need to get the the measurement unit that we're using for that. Default SLA target time. We'll go to response units, and then we'll say work hours colon, and we'll grab the work hours. And so in this case, by the way, I can't see a preview of my face, so if I make goofy faces while I'm doing this, that's why. So we've got response work hours, and then if this is blank, you'll know that you don't need response work hours, or that they're not configured. I'm not going to put something in there for the Boolean, and then we can say resolution configuration. If these are blank, it has not loaded, by the way. Also, I'm dealing with allergies, so if you see me wiping my nose, that is why. Default SLA target time. Resolution time. Space. Default SLA target time. Resolution. Units. Hyphen. Work hours. And then the response work hours. Almost went to the wrong relationship there. So default SLA target time. And I said response work hours, I meant resolution. So resolution work hours. All right, that should be that. Now you could try and calculate using math what these would actually work out to. I don't think I've ever had a need to do that. Like, generally, if these are loaded, then the values in your out-of-the-box setup for SLA calculations will calculate correctly. Like I would say, 99% of every SLA issue I've had that I've seen ends up coming down to either your SLA is not loaded, or your SLA target time's not loaded, or your work hours aren't correct. And so, or in the portal, something happens where for those specific tickets, because it's in a different view, one of these isn't selected. And then when you open the record afterwards in the desktop client in a different view, it suddenly is selected. And so there is a known issue with some tickets where, on some versions at least, I don't know if it's still a known issue or not, where you could have instances where a ticket breached immediately in the portal, but not necessarily in the desktop client, because in the portal, the relationship wouldn't load. So I would say you should be able to see using this a lot of important information. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this somewhere on my form arrangement. And then in the map, we're going to make this, we're going to include that tab in the form arrangement. Hopefully we'll be able to produce a nice even map for everybody that includes, well, this information on how to troubleshoot target time and SLA records. I don't know why it's taking so long to open my form arrangement. I think I have a spotty internet connection. Well, I do have a spotty internet connection. I'm in a hotel. There we go. It did eventually load. There was a bit of a delay. I'm not sure why. So ignore my very customized configuration here. That's not going to be all that relevant. We are going to be adding a tab over here. So we have a form, which I'm going to put, well, for me, I'm going to put right here. And then we're going to include an expression here for visibility so that not everybody sees this. And this is a best practice that I would really recommend that you do. Regardless of who you are, if you found this video, then you should probably be doing this because you're probably an administrator somewhere and have the rights to do so. You should have an expression for tracking admin rights. An admin rights expression is honestly one of the most useful expressions that I ever use. And there's a very easy way to evaluate this, because I could tell you something your admin can probably do that nobody else in your system can do, or hopefully can never do, which is you can check whether they have the right to delete an incident or another record. You can check someone's rights against a business object or field using a system function, and it's incredibly useful. And so I will usually go through and say, well, you know what? We have a certain security right, like deleting a business object, that only our admins have. And so if our admins have that right, and I can check whether someone has that right, I can build an expression and call it has admin rights. And if somebody has a right to delete something, I can say that person is actually an admin. And then I can do fancy things like have tabs and troubleshooting forms that only show up for that admin. It's very useful. Anyways, so that is going to be our troubleshooting SLA form arrangement object. We'll go ahead and publish this. We don't need to scan on our system. For a moment, I thought that blueprint conflict resolution thing was going to pop up, and I was like, but I haven't published this blueprint before. There's no way it's a conflict. Very animated. I'm going to have to see how goofy my webcam shows up after I'm done with this, by the way. I don't usually do webcams, but I'm in the webcam spirit. So we're publishing this, and then after that, we'll do a quick test to make sure that data is actually loading, and then we're going to create a map. You can see firsthand how to create a map of something on an incident form and how to include an expression, which the process for including an expression on a map is pretty much the same process for including anything else in a manager dialog. A manager dialog is basically one-steps, dashboards, widgets, HTML pages. Anything in that pop-up where you see scope folders on the left is a manager window, because it usually says manager after dashboards, stored values, blah, blah, blah. Any of those, you typically have the same process for adding one of those definitions to a map as you do for expressions or any of the other items. And so we'll walk through how that looks, and it'll give you an idea of how to build a map and how to publish a map. Not how to apply a map. You can figure out how to apply the map on your own. It's pretty simple. There's a wizard. Magical wizard. Okay, so we've reloaded definitions. I need to blur my screen right about here. And then we're going to create an incident. If I get the drop down. Okay. Yeah, my system's been somewhat slow recently. I think it's because of the hotel Wi-Fi. It really, really must be. Okay, so on this incident, once it's done loading, I should be able to drag my form arrangements bar over. We have our troubleshooting record. Look at this. Selected SLA name. Def edit default. That's my default SLA. If I select priority, I don't know if I have target time set up for these. I have weird priorities. I'm going to go open my SLA record and find out. We'll create one. You will get a... I don't have SLAs. Okay. So what we're going to do then is we're going to search the rest of our SLAs, and we'll make a different one the default. Does that sound good? Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. We're going to move corporate back to default because I don't remember what project I was working on the def edit one with. I think I needed to test something that explicitly did not have SLA target times. And so this one will become the default. Pretty sure there's just a stored value somewhere that controls that. All right, and so now my form arrangements are set to go all the way over to the side, which is really funny. So now we'll select an SLA target time. This is still definite default, and I don't know why. I'm going to reload definitions. Because I think it's a blueprint level scope stored value that manages that. But the catalog is much bigger. Okay, look at that. So now corporate is the SLA name that's default. The target time is incident 3. Response configuration 2 hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Resolution configuration 3 days, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'm going to drop the work hours out of that. I don't think that's that important. You can kind of get the gist of it. That's everything I need to know. Right there is just, oh, yeah, response, resolution. Here's the one that was picked, incident level 3. If this is blank, you don't have one for that. I might even drop like, here's incident, here's the priority level, and then you should be able to see that here in like a warning. And then if you need to open the SLA, you can. Just look at that. Why am I getting prompted for stuff that can't be saved? I told it I needed to leave the record. That is odd. Anyways, so yeah, you can just go directly to it. This is why I wanted the map. It's just, it will save me and other people just so much time, just like a couple of seconds at a time, as like service desk managers pop over like, hey, can you look at this ticket? This breached. Like, nothing against service desk managers. It's just like the question does come up. And so we are going to put some additional stuff on our SLA troubleshooting form. We're going to change this expression. I don't really like having the word work hours here because it unnecessarily clutters up my area here. Ta-da! Look at that. Honestly, let me just say, Sharewell, if anyone at Sharewell, the company, is watching, this right here just needed to happen so badly. I'm so happy about this. Just, this used to drive me nuts. And this does not drive me nuts anymore. Still animated, but that is no longer a problem. So, good job on them. Okay, so work hours has gone from there. We're going to put an image here for a warning. If target time is not found, you're going to see a warning. So custom expression, we can check our default SLA target time relationship, and that will be an indication that there's a problem. So for this, I'm just going to check the rec ID. System, rec ID, and that is, let me double check the relationship, default SLA target time. If rec ID is empty, then there is actually a very nice warning sign in the out-of-the-box content. I very rarely ever have to go and download icons, which is kind of nice. I want a higher res one like that. And default can be nothing. Okay, so we will move that over. I actually like this size, but was that the size that this was before? Awesome. So that'll be that. You'll want the same thing up here for a quick, is the SLA not loaded? And so this one, oh yeah, it was over here, not over there. Okay, so this one will be if the SLA is not loaded, not the target time. So SLA, incident links SLA. For this one, if the SLA rec ID is empty, then show a warning. This one was empty, right? Not empty? Okay. So that's all of that. And then selected target type, parent type. We will put our incident priority in parent type. I'll just put them down here just for consistency. I will follow the new standard on the Sharewell content, which is vertical fields. Many, many vertical fields. You can't see it, but I'm like trailing my hands off screen. We don't need horizontal columns. Our screen ratios aren't horizontal. Incident type, priority. And I will just line these up. This can be mobile friendly, folks. Look at that. Okay, so using this data, you can then look up at the top here. If this is empty, you're missing a target time. You should go and look, hey, this will be an incident or service request at this priority level. You probably need a target time for that. If this is empty, you need to figure out why your SLA is not loading. I think that will be just enough to help the average person. Well, average, I don't know what I would say as even counts as average, but that should be enough to get people considerably farther than they were. And the people who are aware of this issue, who have to, it's not an issue, but the people who are aware of what can cause this will not have to spend as much time troubleshooting. So you're welcome. You can just apply this map. We are going to get this published out, and then I'm not even going to test it. Then we're going to go into creating a map. We're going to create a new map. In this map, we're going to go through and incident needs to be added to the map. It doesn't need to overwrite very much or really anything. It doesn't need any fields. It doesn't need any relationships. We found a fix for the index issue too, by the way. We don't need our side-by-side incident form. Just the SLA troubleshooting form. There we go. Don't need to overwrite grids. Don't necessarily need to overwrite the form arrangement either. I'm not going to overwrite your form arrangement. You should follow this video and figure out how to add it to the form arrangement with the proper tab yourself. Don't need to overwrite actions. The reason I'm not going to overwrite the form arrangement is because I've seen it break when it just does that, where like you can specify a single tab for it to overwrite, but I'm on version 9.1, but I've seen it just add the other tabs. And so if you have custom stuff, that it might link to something that's not in the target system. And so I'm not going to include the form arrangement. You can drag that form down and that will work. So to add this form, oh, it's already added. If I had not set it up and you were creating a map, there's a button to add a form and you can choose how it's added. Does it overwrite? Does it not import if it's not there? Do you want it to be based on a feature that they toggle when they apply? I left that as import, right? Yes, awesome. So this form's included. I didn't make any changes to it, so I don't know why it's asking me that. We're going to go to the business object and we're going to tell it not to import indexes as part of this, because by default it overwrites indexes, and that's something a lot of us get annoyed at when we go to apply, is that it says it's overwriting indexes, and then you're like, but why? Is that that might be an unintentional thing. I didn't know if now I need to check indexes. All right, so we've got our business object. So this says business object. Nothing should be getting overwritten in that business object. Certainly not any of the fields. So none of the fields here have a map action on them. Let's see. If already present, merge. If not present, import. So that's why that's included, just for reference. And then we need to add our expression for has admin rights. I think you should have this expression so much, so badly. I love this expression so much that I'm including it in the map. And then once you get this expression, when you apply this this map, you should just find this. It's in none and then blueprint. Oh no, it's in none and global. That's even better. Find this and then pin it for yourself. You can use it in a lot of places. Anyways, You can use it in one steps and have special pop-ups that show up only if you run the one steps. Anyways, that's pretty much it. We created a form, we created an expression, we tested it out. That's our map. We're going to save our map to the disk somewhere, and we're going to create a folder for it in my maps folder. We will call this, what will we call this? SLA, oops, typo. Troubleshooting form. We'll open that folder, title it SLA Troubleshooting Form, and then we'll prepare for just, we have to add properties. SLA Troubleshooting Form adds a form to the incident business object for quick troubleshooting of whether the SLA and target times have been loaded. You should add the form to your form arrangement after applying the map and should have visibility toggled based on the new global none association. What do we call it? Has admin rights expression. Done. I'm not going to put my logo on there because I don't feel like browsing for it. Created by Def Edit Software LLC. Details URL. You can find this map at https://defeditsoftware.com. I will get it uploaded somewhere on my system. Nothing that's on here is really going to be requiring version 9.1, and I'm using version 9.1 because it's the very last iteration of Sherwell that allowed you to have backwards compatible maps. So if you're still on version 8, you can use this map, which is great. You don't have to recreate it. We're going to prepare this map for distribution, and this is in the appropriate spot. It's going to be a compressed file, and that's it. Now, you can apply a map if you want to. When you go to apply it, you'll see this file right here, 122 kilobytes, SLA troubleshooting form.mapz. Z means compressed, and that's it. You just go and apply. It will tell you what is in the map, which is basically a reference version of the business object for incident in case you're somehow missing it. Yeah, so it'll merge that, and when it says merge, it should really only do... Why did it include the incident summary form? That will not be there. Incident summary should not be on there, and I will have that removed. But yeah, it'll have has admin rights as the expression, DES, SLA troubleshooting, and then you can add that to your form arrangement after you're done. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section below, but I don't always get notified about those comments, so you can email them to me on my website. It is a beautiful website. I wish maybe I can bring it up with Edge. I was like, I wish I could bring it up, but I have other tabs open on Firefox. It is a beautiful website. If you need anything from me, you can go to defeditsoftware.com, and then if you wait a second after you get there, there'll be a little chat pop up at the bottom of the screen. The chat takes an extra second or two to load, but it'll show up down here, and you can just type in a message, and it goes directly to me. Regardless of whether you put in a subject or a name or an email, you can just say, hey, your map should include this definition. Thanks. Bye. And that just goes directly to me. It gives you a spot where you can include contact information, but you don't actually need to fill it out. So yeah, if you need anything from us, you can go to our website. You can reach out through the contact form if you want to be formal, or you can just reach out to chat. You might actually get a response during certain business hours. All right, thanks. Bye.